First video of 2025. Ooh, that's scary. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first book video of 2025. This is crazy. I cannot believe we are in the year 2025. I'm shook. Time just moves so fast. Last year kind of flew by. I don't know what happened, but one minute it was January and the next minute it was January again. So I'm excited for this year. I have a lot of goals, which you guys are gonna see in a vlog. I'm gonna start doing more vlogs. We're gonna just kind of upload the content that we want, but I digress. Today's video is gonna be 25 books in 2025, but it's gonna be a little bit different. I know a lot of people do these videos of 25 books that they're looking forward to or 25 books that they want to read. And they give specific books, but I don't work that way. I am a mood reader. I am somebody who definitely doesn't stick to like a list of things. If I give myself a list of books that I want to read, I'm not gonna read them. I don't know why my brain is so blocked that way, but yeah, so I made a list in Notion of 25 books that I want to read in 2025 that gear more towards genres or feelings or how I want the book to make me feel, or the vibe of a book, the content of the book. So it's not going to be specific books, but it's going to be 25 different types of books. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope that this video works the way that it's working in my brain. Yeah, we're gonna do 25 books that I want to read in 2025 with a twist. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed already, please feel free to subscribe. I'm gonna try and keep my uploads consistent again. But yes, if you are not following me on Twitch, I also stream over on Twitch, so go ahead and follow me down there. All my socials will be linked in the description. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this video. Okay, so the first book that I have on my list is a book that makes me cry. Like, and when I say cry, I mean sob. I mean scream, cry, throw up, just hysterics. I feel that I avoid books like that. I remember when I read Binding 13, that book made me absolutely sob at the very end. It was definitely a book that kind of broke me. And I don't know, it was not a fun experience in the moment, but I think after I just felt so connected to the book and so in tune with the book because of that emotion. I definitely want to explore that emotion in my book. And then we have a book that changes my perspective on something. I want to read more books that challenge me. I want to read more books that make me think, which you'll see is a theme throughout this list. But I want to, I guess, grow more with the books I read also. I love my dark romance. I love my romance books. I love my romantasy. I love those political yet non like super brain powered books. I love those and I will continue to read those because those give me joy. But I do want to try and mix in some more high stakes books or books that challenge how I view a real world perspective. I don't know. I just want to read more books that challenge me. So a book that changes my perspective on something I think is a good intention to go into the year with. We then have a new favorite author. I have my authors that I love, but I also have authors that I don't love anymore, who I don't want to support anymore, or who they kind of fell off for me. One of those like one-off authors that, you know, you really love, but then you read their other stuff and they're not really that good. So I want to find a new favorite author. I want to expand the authors that I know and that I love and that I read. So that's definitely a good goal. High fantasy. I want to get into high fantasy. I have a lot of high fantasy in my room or like on my TBR. I have a lot of high fantasy, so I need to just start reading them. I think that I get intimidated because I don't feel smart enough to read them, which is silly because like anybody is smart enough to read anything. So I need to get that mentality out of my head, but I think that I just kind of avoid them because I feel like I'm not going to understand, and so that keeps me from them. But I want to try it. My next news, my hope for love. I have been single for a very long time. I am a hopeless romantic. I love love, but I definitely want to start reading more books that have a lot more substance in them, more like that feeling that you get when there's love and like you're experiencing love or witnessing love, that feeling that you get. I want to experience that more. I just want a lot more love in my life. So yeah, just kind of a book that I get that feeling of like, wow, like this is what love should be and what love like should strive to be. So, and then this one is kind of a out there one for me. I put a horror book. I don't like scary anything. I don't like scary movies. I don't like being scared. I don't like any of that stuff. But I'm really trying to expand what I'm reading and trying new things and getting out of my comfort zone. And a horror book is definitely one of those things that is out of my comfort zone. I don't know. We'll see. If you guys have any recommendations for a good first horror book, please let me know because I'm gonna need it. I don't like anything scary, but again, I'm trying to expand what I'm reading and what I consume and just, you know, trying to gain new perspectives on things. And especially because I have people in my life who like horror and they ask me for recommendations and I'm like, I don't read horror books, so I can't help you on that. So I also want to kind of read it for that reason because people ask me for recommendations all the time and I don't have any. I haven't read a single horror book. So my next one is going to be a book that I can't stop thinking about. Now this doesn't have to be a 5 or 6 star book. There are some books that are 2, 3 or 4 stars for me that I just can't stop thinking about. That will be on my brain forever. Like Butcher and Blackbird, for instance, that was not a 5-star read for me. I believe that was a 4 for me. But there are days where I am just sitting somewhere and that book just pops into my brain. Like I love that book and it's something that I think about all the time. Leather and Lark is the same way. That wasn't a 5-star read for me, but I think about it all the time because of just how it made me feel. So that's kind of like what I mean by a book that I can't stop thinking about. It doesn't have to be a 5-star for me to keep thinking about it, to have it still be up here in my brain. The next one is going to be a book a friend recommends. I don't have a lot of friends that read. I have a good majority of friends that read also that I could get recommendations from, but I definitely want to start reading things that my friends read. I don't want to only read like what's popular online. I want to read what my friends love. That may get me out of my comfort zone. That may be something that I'm like not normally reading. So I think that one's going to be a really, really fun one, especially because a lot of my friends don't read what I read. So it'll be really fun to get that from them. The next one is a no brain book. This is just literally what it is. It's something that I read and I don't have to think too hard. It's just something that will be easy on my brain. Kind of like a palate cleanser between all of the other things that I have going on. I need them when I'm in a slump. I need them when I've just read a really heavy book or something that has stuck with me, like a 5-star read. I need a no brain book after, just because it kind of refreshes my brain from the turmoil that I may have just went through. And that's like one of my biggest tips to people is if you find that you're in a slump or if you just read a book that was so good you don't feel like you can move on, just get a no brain book, something short, something easy, something that isn't going to be too hard on you. For me, Chestnut Springs is no brain because I can just zoom through those books so fast, but yet they are so good. I love all of those books, but it's just really easy to get through them and it's not something that I have to think super hard about to read. So yeah, a no brain book is definitely something that I want to prioritize this year versus trying to read heavy hitters all year long. So you'll probably see that if I start making TBR videos again, which I don't know if I'm going to because I find that puts a lot of pressure on me to read what I say I'm going to read. But who knows? Well, y'all let me know if y'all like the TBR videos. I may do more like random TBRs again, or there's one girl that I really love on YouTube. I think it's Becca something. I don't remember. Her name is Becca, and she does Read It or Unhaul It, and I love that concept because it kind of makes her read books that she wouldn't normally pick up but that she has in her collection, and it forces her to like read it or give it away. So I really need to start doing that. I have too many books in my collection that are just sitting there that I haven't read and that I'm like, I don't want to read this right now. So I may start doing something like that versus a TBR, but we'll see. Again, y'all let me know. So then I have a book that I wouldn't normally read. This one is kind of open for interpretation. There's a lot of books. Honestly, I'm not picky with my books, but I'm also very picky with my books. There are a lot of books that I just will not touch. A lot of books that have content in it that I just will not touch. So I'm trying to give those books a chance even if I feel like I'm not gonna like them. But one of my actual goals, in my next video you guys will see me creating my journal of sorts for 2025. One of my reading goals for that is to DNF more. So those two things kind of go hand in hand. This prompt of a book that I wouldn't normally read and DNFing more. I'm not afraid. I'm trying not to be afraid of reading books that I wouldn't normally read because I'm trying to be okay with DNFing books. So that's kind of why I put this on here, is to kind of go hand in hand with that reading goal that I have. Again, this year is just me trying to get out of my comfort zone and try some new things. So yeah, that's why I put that there. My next goal is an indie author. I really want to try and support indie authors a lot more. One of my really good friends is an indie author, and I will devour every book that she writes. Her next book is actually coming out this year, so I'm really excited. But I want to try to support indie authors a lot more. I feel that because of TikTok and BookTok, I don't get to see a lot of indie authors. I see a lot of obviously the popular authors, and I need to get out of that habit. I also just go to Barnes to buy books, or Amazon, which I'm trying to stop. So I need to go to indie bookstores a lot more. So I really want to focus on indie authors this year and really try to find, you know, really good indie authors. The next one is going to be a book of poems. I love poetry. I used to write poetry when I was like in high school. I had like a book of poetry that I wrote. It's not good at all, but I love poetry. I think that it's so fun to read poems and then compare with your friends on how they interpreted those poems or how other people interpreted poems. So I really love those, and I want to get into them more because I haven't read poetry in a really long time. The next one on my list is a classic. I don't consider myself like a classic girl. I've never been interested in reading classics, especially because like that's kind of what you're forced to read throughout high school is classics. So I definitely was kind of like pushed off of those things because of that. And again, it's one of those things that I just feel like I'm not smart enough to read, which is again very silly. So I really want to try reading classics. I have Emma, I think, and I have Lord of the Rings, which I feel like Lord of the Rings are classics, but you guys let me know what you think. If you have any favorite classics, let me know and I'll check those out. But I definitely have Emma in there that I could read. If not, I'll find one. I have the Odyssey and the Iliad in there also. I think that's the Odyssey is like the only book that I read in high school that I enjoyed, but did I comprehend any of it? I don't know. I think that I really liked the project that we had to do. So anyway, I really want to try and read at least one classic this year. Okay, so the next book that I have is a little bit weird. When I wrote this one down, I was kind of like, does this one make sense? Like, is this gonna make sense to people, like what I mean by this? But I just left it, just, you know, just to leave it. I put a book that makes me angry in a good way. So I have a hard time processing anger and understanding anger. And so my thought process behind this is that if I can find a book that makes me angry for, my main thought was angry for the protagonist, angry for like what they're going through. Okay, a good series, a good example of this is the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. Those books made me really angry just because of all the things that she went through, and also like the things that she experienced after that. I need to reread that series again because I really loved it, and I haven't finished it yet, and I think it's done at this point. I think Goldfinch is the last one, but I haven't finished it yet because when I was reading it, all the books weren't out yet, I don't think. Anyway, that's a good example of what I mean by like a book that makes me angry. I kind of want to love a protagonist so much that whatever's happening to them like makes me very upset. So that's kind of like what I mean by that. Okay, the next one that I have on my list is a book that challenges how I feel about myself. This year for me is going to be a year of like self-growth and self-improvement and evolution, and I really want to start reading things that make me analyze myself and how I feel about myself and how I see myself, and really challenge those things about me. I think that I really need that because I'm like the meanest person to myself, so I'm really trying to change that aspect of me. So the next one I have is translated fiction. I've always been interested in reading like Korean or Japanese translated fiction. I do have 1 or 2 books in there that are translated fiction. I just need to read them. So that is something that I'm really interested in. I put a comfort book on here. I really want to find more books that when I feel down or when I feel lost, I can just pick up again, and you know, it makes me feel safe, it makes me feel comforted, stuff like that. Okay, something on here is a book that makes me think. This can kind of go hand in hand with a book that changes my perspective on something, or a book I can't stop thinking about. But this is more of like really gearing into the high fantasy area, or gearing into more of like a politically driven type of book. I want to think more. I feel like this past year I haven't been challenging my brain or working my brain, so I really want to try and think more, if that makes sense. Some of these I feel like only make sense to me, and I'm trying to explain them and it's just not explaining right. My brain isn't braining. This is what I mean, is I can't explain myself. The next thing that I have is a nostalgia book. There are so many books from my childhood that I love that I have been wanting to reread for the longest time, and I think that this year is the year that I'm gonna reread those, because I would also love to like share that with you guys, to kind of show you like, hey, here's some books that I loved when I was a kid. You should read them too if you haven't read them. So that's something that I really want to tackle this year, is reading for nostalgia. Okay, so the next book I have on my list is a 6-star book. I don't think I've ever had a spoken 6-star read. I've had so many 5 stars. I've had 5 stars that have really like stuck with me, but I don't think I've ever labeled a book 6 stars. I think that's something I'm going to start this year, because I feel like there are books that I'm just like, wow, this is a 5-star book. This is such a good book, but it's not like my favorite book of all time type of thing. So I really want to try and I want to find a book that just kind of like really sticks with me and really becomes my favorite book. The next one that I have on here is a book about another culture. I love books that are focused in other cultures. I think I have a lot of books that focus in like Asian culture that I really enjoy reading. I want to start leaning into that more. That is something I'm really excited about. I do love learning about other cultures. That is something that I've always loved. This one, I don't know if it's going to happen, because this is something that I genuinely do not like reading, but I put a nonfiction on here. I want to try to read a nonfiction. I am not a nonfiction person, but in my head, nonfiction can also be like a memoir, obviously, because that's like about somebody's life. I listened to the Jeanette McCurdy memoir last year, and I really enjoyed it. I really loved hearing her tell her life story, and it was very shocking and very heartbreaking, and I think that that's something that I'm looking for this year is learning about things that are uncomfortable and learning about people's lives that I may not have realized before. So that's something that I really want to try to do. I don't know. I'm just not a nonfiction girl, so it's really hard for me to read nonfiction. So all right, my next book is a book about grief. I don't handle grief well. It's just one of those things that it's really hard for me. I haven't experienced a ton of grief in my life, but when I do experience it, it is very, very hard for me to move on. And I want to start reading more books about things that make me uncomfortable, like I said, so that way when they happen in real life, I feel more equipped to handle those things. Grief is something that I definitely have a hard time dealing with, and I think it's hard for everybody, obviously, but it's something that I want to have a more positive outlook on, or like a positive experience, or handle more positively, just something along those lines. So that's something that I want to try and tackle this year. My second to last one is a book about mental health. I really want to dive deeper into mental health. I have depression, I have anxiety, and I feel that I have made big strides this year for my mental health, and I want to continue that as well as my physical health. But I really want to read books that have characters that deal with these things. Just kind of find books that I identify with a lot more. So, and then my last book, my 25th book that I want to read in 2025 is a book about a powerful female lead. I feel like I gravitate towards those books anyway, but I definitely want that to be something that I look for. I love when the man just wants to, you know, do everything for his woman, but I also want a good balance of like the female character not necessarily needing him to help her. If he wants to do that, that's great. But I really want the female lead to be able to handle things on her own and just be kind of a badass on her own. So those are the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys get inspiration from this video and make a similar list. That'd be awesome. If you guys would like to share that with me, please feel free to share that with me. I'm really excited for this year, and I hope that you guys are as well. I am going to really try to stick with you know, my YouTube and everything that I want to accomplish. So yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you all have a wonderful start of the year. I can't wait to see how all of our years go, and yeah, I love you guys. I will see you next time. Bye.